Hello and welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm so excited you're joining me today. I'm Beth Hawthorne, your host, and I am joined by Chris LaMoreaux. She is the secretary of the church I currently attend in Moscow, Idaho, Christ Church, and she has been the secretary for 37 years. She has 3 grown children and 5 grandchildren, and I cannot wait to hear all of her stories. She has coordinated a lot of hospitality over her years as secretary. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I just have been in Moscow. I don't know. I went to school here
College?
to college in 1969. So now you can kind of figure out how old I am. And one of the old people in the church now. And went to school, University of Idaho, for like a year or 2.5 years. And then Mark and I got married. And yeah, we just started our family. And then I started working for the church. Oh gosh, it was 1987, I think it was. So anyway, Doug had his office in a truck, and I had a little office set up in my house. So that was the way it all started.
But you were the first work from home employee there.
Probably
was in
so.
that age.
Yeah. I'm originally from Sandpoint, and so high school cheerleader, all that stuff, which I couldn't do now. That's for sure. So anyway, yeah, we love Moscow. We've been here forever since, I don't know, we got married in 1972, and we moved down here, I think, that same year. So we love it here. Yeah. So I'm married to Mark, and
he's a local photographer.
He's a local photographer in his old age, and he still has it. So that's great.
He loves
it.
He's a great photographer.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
He takes very unique and interesting pictures.
He does. He really does.
Gets people laughing and doing something silly.
Yeah. He's really fun.
He's taken the pictures, I think, all the years that I've been there for teaching at Logos. He's taken all of the
He's taken all the school pictures ever since. since Logos. Not the first year that Logos started, but I think pretty much
from then on out.
Yeah, and same with NSA.
Wow.
Since NSA, not the year Becca was there, the first year, but after that, he's done all the school pictures. So it's just great.
Well,
I think
everybody smiling and laughing, and he talks to the kids and
telling
makes
weird jokes.
And
I know.
By the time he snaps the picture, they're ready for, they're not even realizing that he's made him kind of come out of their nervous
I know, but
state.
then they don't really know how to take his jokes sometimes, and that's a little bit, I don't know.
They have weird looks on their face sometimes.
Yes, who is this
picture.
Crazy old man?
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about being a secretary of the church for 37 years. I mean, you did say it started off just really small. Your office was at home or you helped from home, and then it progressed. So what is the progression?
I worked from home for like 7 years. And then we got a little office over by where Tom Garfield's thing is over on Washington. It's like one of the bottom offices there. So Doug worked there, and I was still working from home, and it was just like a couple little rooms and stuff. So yeah, then we did that. And then where did we go? Then we went over to the State Farm place, kitty corner from Moscow Medical, and we're there for a while. And then we went to Anselm House across from the co-op. And then we went to the New Art, and then we went where we are now.
Just needing more and more and more
yes,
space.
Right. Yeah. It's been a great blessing. It's been really, really fun. I really love my work. I love working with the guys, and I couldn't have a better job. And I never knew from, the get-go that this is what I wanted to do, but I just really love it. So
you have a perfect personality for it. You can handle every personality that comes in or
sometimes
calls on the phone or
pretty
whatever.
Interesting, I'll tell you that much.
I'm sure you have some stories that you probably can't share.
Probably can't share. Yeah, we have interesting drop-ins. So, but it's been really a great blessing, and they take really good care of me, and I'm very grateful.
Yes,
so I really want to, I want to kind of stick it out as long as I can, as long as I can get to work, I'd like to be able to go. Yes. So, yeah.
Well, you started off pretty much as doing everything, the secretary who did everything. So you wore all the hats that a secretary typically would. And now it's gotten big enough that there's a separate administrative secretary And then you are actually, your role has gotten a little more specific as well, and you're called the pastoral secretary.
Yes, right. So basically, yes, in the very beginning, I did everything. I handled all the money. I don't think I did the payroll, but I handled, I still do bill paying, but Canon Press was just, we had a few little books in a storage unit, and I'd have to tell the guy that was in charge of it, we need 2 Reforming Marriage and 1 Principles of War. And he'd have to go to the storage unit and pick the books up and bring them to his house. And then I'd have to go over to his house and pick up the books and then take them back to the little office and package them. I mean, it was just really rinky dink. But yeah, so we did hire another gal, and she is administrative secretary, and she does all the bulletin stuff and all that. And then I have really been trained to do pastoral secretary stuff, which isn't like taking shorthand anymore, anything like that, but it's a lot of scheduling. So I do scheduling for Joe Rigney and Ben Zorns and Jared Longshore and Pastor Doug, and do their trip planning and all that stuff. So
that's a lot of details.
It is. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. And everybody wants to talk to them. So
yes,
they're very popular.
Yes. So they're getting a lot of requests.
Yes.
You have to field and go run by them for different conferences and speaking to schools.
Yeah, we've got
and
all kinds we have all kinds of forms that we have them fill out, and yeah, it's fun.
Keep it a little more formalized than back in the day.
Yes, right.
Well, I remember a story you told me that you were talking about early church hospitality, and now that the church has gotten big enough and, of course, technology has improved, we have these sign-ups. There's a daily email that goes out, and on it is a sign-up, just a link you can click. Often it's to take them a meal, or there's probably some other sites out there too, but you just click the link, and the person who has time to look at their calendar at home signs up for the day they want. Back in the day, it was not that easy.
No, not at all. No. And we didn't really have a really organized thing at all. There's no internet, no iPhones. We got the landlines, and if the prayer chain, we do the old prayer chain thing, calling everybody on the prayer chain. But
hoping they answered. Because
hoping they answer.
Then you have to call back. Or maybe you were lucky and they had an answering machine.
Yeah, exactly.
With a message.
Yeah, and who knows what it was going to end up like at the end of the prayer chain. The prayer request could have been totally discombobulated. But the story I was telling you was when I had my daughter, who is now, she was born in 1978, so she's 45, is that right? 46, 45. Anyway, my daughter, Annie, I had a real rough delivery with her, and I'd had a little outing that day, and I'd been sitting in the car outside of Tri-State holding my little baby, and it was the whole mom thing, and the baby needed to be changed. I was absolutely worn out because I'd had surgery with her, and just worn out and kind of beside myself, really, really a mess. And I got home, and someone had left a hot meal on our porch, and it was the biggest blessing ever, because we didn't really do that. We weren't set up to do that then. And it was such a blessing. And so I think probably, I can't remember because it's been a long time ago, but I think that kind of was a springboard for, getting things like that started. So probably I talked to Nancy, and, we tried to figure out how to organize meals for people when they needed it, because it was such a big help. So anyway, that's probably how things kind of got started, unless they just happened organically. But yeah.
That is a fun story, because sometimes it does take that for us to realize that was so important and special to me. I need to do that for others when I'm past this own trial, or my own trial in my life.
Right, exactly.
I need to be the one to initiate the next thing. So that's really a fun story.
Yeah.
After that, were you in charge of, I know you said you kind of started coordinating, but did you take that on as a role as a secretary every time somebody had a baby? Were you in charge of coordinating meals and doing the phone call on the landline?
I probably was. I can't remember. I really can't remember, because we just didn't have like I said, there wasn't even Google back then. Mm-hmm. So I can't really remember, but probably somebody had called somebody, and then we'd get started and have it written down on a piece of paper. I don't know.
I remember those days, and all the young listeners are probably like, what are y'all talking about? This is such a foreign world. But I remember those days too, where yes, you were on a piece of paper and you were calling and hoping they answered, and having, holding on the line while they checked their calendar and hope they were not going to say, can I call you back? Or call other people first
Yeah.
and then come back to me, because then it just went on and on and on. But yes, it was quite the trial.
Yeah.
Besides having to just ask, that's not my favorite thing.
No, me either. I know. That's really hard. But yes, I remember being in the office one day, and one of the guys I was working with said, "There's this new thing called Google, and this is what it does." And it was like we're all like, "What's Google?" It was so exciting. But after that, the big question in the office was, should we network the computers? And no, I don't think we should network. No, I don't think we should.
Sounded a little too fishy.
Kind of scary to network
like
the computers.
People were all looking in on each other's screen or something.
Right. Yes, right. But anyway, so after, internet and all that, it sure made things a lot easier to connect with people. So yeah, we didn't have email or anything. So
yep. Times have changed.
Yes.
Technology has definitely made things a little bit easier when it comes to hospitality, a little bit quicker, more efficient, and takes the pressure off the coordinator. They can simply send out the request, and then other people can fill the slots.
That's true. And I just have to say that the ladies in the church are super amazing because we have, I don't know how many meals we have going right now for people, but they really pretty much fill up pretty fast. And it's not my spiritual gift to do a meal for somebody. It's very stressful for me. I just, that's not what I can do very well, but I can organize them. But I've talked to some of the ladies before and they just say, it's the one thing we can do to bless the church. And I mean, that's really a great thing. It's really so appreciated. And I remember when I had a surgery and having the meals come over, and I would not have eaten if a meal hadn't come over that was like a little salad and a little meat. I probably would have, had an Ensure. But this, I mean, seriously, because I felt so terrible.
It just wasn't worth you getting up and you just couldn't.
I couldn't. But the fact that they brought something over, I was able to eat something that was good for me. And it was just it's really a great blessing. It's a great ministry. So I really appreciate all the ladies that are so willing to help.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really great.
Absolutely. And they've gotten so good at it. So
they're really good at it.
That I've talked to even on this podcast, they have cute little baskets they take, or they just, maybe they tie something up with their ribbon.
It's their gift.
And all these details that make it even more special. I'm like, back in the day, I don't think I had a basket or a ribbon or anything. It's just I don't even remember. Like you, it's been so long, back when my kids were teensy and all my friends were having babies. Because I have 20-year-olds now, one 16-year-old who's turning 17 tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Yes. No.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, it is tomorrow. Tomorrow's his birthday. Anyway, back when my friends were having babies 20 years ago, I can't really remember exactly, but I'm sure it was not anything beautiful and fun and fancy and like a special delivery.
But it was something.
It was something. It was a hot meal.
And people needed it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I know cooking is not your favorite thing, but you have fed a lot of people over the years. Yes. You have welcomed people into your home when you were raising kids and fed their friends, fed other kids. What is a favorite menu you might choose to serve for dinner? I know it's just you and your husband at home now, so it could be something that the two of you eat, or there's something that you make when friends come over.
To clarify, I don't hate cooking. I like to bake.
Oh,
I do. I really love it. I make all of our own bread, and I make my homemade kefir, and I do my own sprouting, and I kind of crunchy granola on that sort of stuff sometimes.
That actually sounds really good.
Yeah, and I love to make cookies, but I think it's meal planning because I work, so I'm just tired, and we're simple, and food's not like I don't live for food particularly. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And Mark doesn't either. He's super easy to please. So if it's just the two of us, many times I'll just have like a piece of salmon and a salad and a baked potato or something. I mean, that's like a super simple dinner, and we're happy with that. If I have the family over, the one thing I was trying to think about which was my favorite thing to cook, and it's just kind of the no fail. It's the haystacks. You know what they are?
That sounds really familiar.
So it's like a Mexican pileup.
Okay.
And so I didn't even know about haystacks until Annie, my daughter, was engaged to her husband, Jonathan, and he was raised Seventh-day Adventist. So they have a lot of vegetarian-y sort of stuff. So basically, it's the old chips on the bottom of the plate and the meat. And they didn't have the meat. I'm sure they had tofu. But the meat and the cheese and the lettuce and the corn and the, onions and all the things, which I like that because people really like that. And you just pass it around, all the individual things, and you just take what you want. So if you're on a diet, you don't need the chips and you can forego on this and that. But, it's just a big pileup. Matter of fact, Bill Church next door, that's his favorite thing. He calls it the pile. When they come for dinner, he wants me to fix the pile.
That sounds like what we would call taco salad.
Yeah, kind of like that.
I kind of like haystacks better because taco salad just sounds weird.
I know. It's just, yeah. So that works really, really well. And everybody likes it and they're really happy and they clean their plates. And so it's great.
We always loved that as kids because like you said, you could load up on the ingredients you liked and kind of skimp on the ones you didn't. Or if somebody had an allergy, they could skip,
exactly.
Like if they were dairy
that's exactly
free, they
it.
could skip the cheese and do everything else. So that's a great idea.
That's a good one. And the other one is I like to make chili. And when Mark was growing up, he in grade school, this is so weird. They had chili on Thursdays with cinnamon rolls and butter sandwiches, like white bread with butter in the middle. That was it. Butter sandwiches, cinnamon rolls, and chili. So people have heard this story, if they know me at all, about the chili and cinnamon rolls. You think that's like the weirdest thing ever, and it's so good together because it's sweet and salty. Mm-hmm. So you dunk your cinnamon rolls in the chili and eat it. It's so good.
I've never done that.
And my cinnamon roll recipe is
I will have to try it.
It's the best recipe ever. It's from the cook at the grade school, and it's in Hot Providence.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, I have that book.
It's
from
super
back
good.
in the
And
day,
the big thing
I
is,
know where to find that one. I'm posting it, ladies.
Yes, and it's the secret is tons of butter and tons of sugar and cinnamon.
That
tons
is
of
definitely
butter.
the secret. If anybody makes cinnamon rolls and they decide they're on a diet and they need to skimp,
forget it.
Just don't even make cinnamon rolls because if they're not just lots, I wouldn't say gooey because then that makes them sound undercooked or something. But if they're dry, if they do not have enough butter, they're terrible. It's like eating dough that has no flavor.
I know, it's so true. And I don't do it very often because it really is kind of a big mess. But, once in a while, I'll do that. So just for old time's sake, chili and cinnamon rolls.
Do you serve the butter sandwiches? Or do you
I do not serve the butter sandwiches.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's very weird. It's very Sandpoint, Idaho is what it is.
Okay. Speaking of being on a diet.
Yes, right.
White bread and butter sandwiches.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Exactly. Not
that
good.
might blow the diet, especially if you're having a cinnamon roll at the same time.
Kind of carb overload. Ugh.
Oh, yes. So maybe just the chili and cinnamon roll. If you're eating them together, that is so interesting.
It's really good. You should try it. And everybody's like, that sounds so weird and gross.
Yeah, because I thought you were going to say after, chili and cornbread and then
you just
cinnamon roll.
dunk it in. It's so good.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm trying it.
Okay.
I'm going to be brave. So do you serve anything else with this or just the chili and the cinnamon roll? Is that
I might throw some carrot sticks on the table and some dip.
To feel better about yourself. Now the dip ruins it because if the dip is just pure sour cream or cream cheese or something, then you're back to square one.
I know, exactly.
Well, the carrots, the carrots.
I mean,
are
you
out there.
could do a salad if you thought you should, but
it's funny, the chicken places, and I'm not sure if they all do this, but I think it's who has the chicken wings?
Is it Buff? Is it
Wingstop or something like that? Wingstop. It's so funny because I don't know if these things are healthy or not healthy. Maybe they're baked and not fried. Regardless, it always cracks me up because their sides are carrot sticks and celery sticks. And
there's your salad.
There's probably some ranch with it or something. I don't know. But you can making people feel better about all those wings they're eating.
I know, you can dip the wings into the dressing.
Yeah. I'm sure most of those guys getting that Wingstop are not touching the.
Probably not. They throw them out, I'm sure.
What is a shortcut or time saver that you might use when you're making this meal? Can you make your cinnamon rolls ahead of time, or do you like for them to be hot, fresh out of the oven?
Oh, yeah. You got to have them hot out of the oven. So, I have done that. I have done them at night. and stuck them in the fridge. And you let them kind of come a little bit to room temperature, and then you can cook them. They're really not quite as good, though. It's better to do them fresh, I think.
Done the day before the dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And then chili you can make ahead pretty
Chili
easily.
you can make ahead. I've got an Instant Pot I got for Christmas, which is like super awesome. So now I'm into making the stuff in the Instant Pot.
So you brown your ground beef or whatever meat you use in the Instant Pot and then just keep going.
And the onions and the garlic and all that. It's so great. Yeah. And you can was it chili? I think, I did the hard kidney beans the other day in the Instant Pot. Do you have one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great.
I need to
pull
it out for chili. I always just think of my Dutch oven on the stove, but the Instant Pot would be really great.
No, it was great. It's like keep it
warm while you're, like if you do you use the pressure cook setting or the slow cook setting?
Yeah. I did the pressure cook and then just kept it on warm. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm still learning how to use it, but I'm thinking I'm going to really be liking it. I've used it a lot. So
we'll have to put your instructions for the Instant Pot as well as regular. Like if you've had this one for years, you probably have made it on the stovetop and now you've made it in the Instant Pot. We'll have to put both of those instructions. Because there's a lot of people out there that have an Instant Pot. And
it's great if you have the hard beans, the dried beans. So you cook the dried beans first and then drain them and stuff, and then you drain them and then you're browning the meat on the saute and then you dump them all back in. And so,
how long does it take to do the beans ahead of time?
Well, I think it was maybe 15 minutes.
That's not bad.
No,
and that tastes
hard
a lot
beans.
better, I bet, than the canned beans.
Okay, can I tell a story?
Yes, tell a story.
Back in the day, I was 6 months pregnant with my youngest. So this was in like 1984, and I had the pressure cooker, and the pressure cooker with the lid and the rocking thing.
My mom had one of those.
Rock, and then the little valve that came popping up when it was under pressure.
Yes.
Kind of scary. The thing was a little scary.
Yes, it was.
So I was 6 months pregnant, and I was having a party that night, like a Mexican themed party. And put a bunch of pinto beans in the pressure cooker. And so then I went and sat in that living room. And our house is very small. It's like 937 square feet. It's very small. So all of a sudden, I hear this sound, and the pressure cooker, the little safety valve, flew off and flew across the room, close to where I was. And then all the pinto beans came roaring out of that hole up under the hood in my kitchen. I have a skylight up above in the kitchen. It went all up in the skylight, all up into this tube thing that we have. It was the biggest mess. It was like a freight train roaring in the kitchen. And, I didn't know what to do. I went into panic and went out on the deck and kind of screamed because I was pregnant and I didn't know what to do. So, I could have probably thrown a towel over it or something to stop it, but it was the biggest mess. I had to call Mark from the university to come home and clean it up. And the pinto beans dried as soon as they hit the surface, so it was like scraping pinto beans off the windows. And
that's terrible. And yes, if you're pregnant, that's a pretty tough
it
thing
was
to be
terrible.
Up on a ladder trying to clean the skylights.
And so that was in 1984. So I have never used a pressure cooker since 1984 and since I got my Instant Pot this year. So I'm pretty proud of myself, and I'm not scared.
Come a long way since 1984.
I think so too. And I'm not scared. It was great. I wasn't scared. I did the beans. They didn't blow up. It was great. I wasn't pregnant. So anyway.
I cannot believe that the metal part flew all the way into
it was the little valvey thing.
The valve thing.
Not the big, not the rocker.
No,
not the rocker, but it was the valve just popped off. And I probably filled it way too full, So
regardless, it should have, I don't know, safety instructions taped to the side or something where.
Well, how about let's not fill it full of pinto beans, which swell up. But
that's true.
Anyway, that was my story I wanted to tell you.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Well, now we can a little bit more safely start with dried beans in the Instant Pot, but read the instructions and the amounts first.
Yes, you have to read the instructions. Don't overload.
Yes, don't overload. They do expand.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than your kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. So what is your best prep tip when you're having your family over or other company? How do you prepare? It could be cooking, cleaning, cooking inspiration.
Keep in mind, our house is so small that I can maybe hold 10 max around the table. So I don't, we can't do great big dinners. There's just absolutely not room. So
and sometimes it's nice to do small dinners because then you can really visit with a set or two of friends. If it's like another couple or two or three, then you really get to visit with every person. Big events are fun too, but you don't get to see everybody or talk in depth. Yeah.
In the summer, we have a deck out in the back, so then I can have a lot of people over. I think some of your kids might have come over before. Anyway, so, we really spill out then. They eat out in the lawn and everything.
It's beautiful here in the summertime.
It's so great. It's so great. And so I really do a lot of outdoor things. And so in the summer is when I can have people over, bigger families and stuff. But, okay, so number one is I love Walmart delivery.
Me
too.
$98
a year is totally worth it.
Someone else is shopping for you, and count up the gas that you would spend going there and back.
I know.
And your time. And even just the gas that you would take or spend driving to Walmart and back over the course of an entire year, and you have saved money.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love it. And you have to kind of pick through and make sure the produce isn't really crummy because then, you have to sometimes return it, but they're really good about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you don't have to go to the store to return it. You can just enter it through the app and they just refund your money through the app.
Yeah.
You don't have to go
anywhere. I know. It's so
There's the inconvenience of now you don't have whatever. Like let's say that somehow your produce, the butternut squash was squishy and you have to return it now.
So then you have to go to the store.
Squash, you have to go to the store. And so I'm always a little nervous about it, but honestly, most of the time, the produce they pick is fine. Most of the time.
Most of the time, it's okay. And I mean, you just prepare yourself. You may have to go to Rosar's. But
emergency trip.
Yes. But I do love that. I feel like that's been a really good use of my money. And okay, so because I don't like cooking that much, I try to stick to the same tried and true recipes. And I'm a real planner, so I can't wing it. Like if somebody's coming over, I get stressed out. So I have to really plan. Unlike my daughter, who is super awesome about if someone's coming over, great. She can, one day she was having some visiting professors or something from NSA and they were coming, or a visiting family to NSA, and they were coming over within the hour. And she was in the kitchen dyeing a blouse in a bucket of dye. Just kitchen needed to have the dishes done. But she's, got the kids to clean up and they did it and they had a lovely time and she never stressed. So it's a real gift. Not me. I just am not that way. So it helps me if I set the table early in the day. That really, really helps. And then I get that done. And if I've got dirty silverware, I can clean it off before they get there. That kind of thing. And make sure I've got because I've got to organize because that's the way I work. Mm-hmm. I have to go through the recipe and write down the timing of everything because I can't wing it. And when do I put this in and when am I doing this? Even for little groups, I just feel better about it if I can do that. And
it helps to know what your gifts are, and that's what makes you an amazing secretary. That's
why yes.
You
well,
have
it's
been the rock at the church for 37 years. But Pastor Wilson did, when I was scheduling this podcast with you, it was really funny because last Sunday, Pastor Wilson did a sermon and he was talking about, I don't remember the title of it, but somewhere in there it was talking about how none of us are really indispensable. The dying replaces the dead. We're all moving that way.
Yes, all dying,
At some point, our turn will go too. So don't look to people as say your salvation or whatever, or somebody who's going to change everything or help you in some amazing, great way. You should look to God. Great sermon.
Yes.
Then I was scheduling with Chris, this podcast, and I was like, I kind of think that she might be indispensable.
Who said that?
I did.
Oh, I don't know. I
can't picture anyone taking her place. She's been there for so long.
The thing about being there a long time is that there's a lot of stuff in my head that there's no way I could write it down or pass it on to anybody.
Yeah.
And so
somebody's got to step in and really do a steep learning
they just
curve.
would have to change the whole planning, and I'm sure they'd get all automated and everything and not do my notebooks like I like to do.
Your notebooks are pretty amazing, I'm sure. But anyway, back
okay,
to you were saying something else.
Okay, so I think, my kitchen's really small, so I really like to kind of clean up as I go, because otherwise I just have a terrible amount of dishes to do. And I don't have any cupboard space. I have like it's a galley kitchen. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a couple little surfaces that I can work on. That's real helpful to do that. But I don't know. Oh, I know what I was going to say. And I think I got this from Catherine Church. That she was talking about this one time at some ladies thing or something. She said, before the guests get there, like put some music on, go in and comb your hair, brush your teeth if you need to, kind of freshen up, like maybe a half an hour before they're supposed to arrive, so that they don't catch you like all disheveled, and then you feel all disheveled the whole, not
evening,
that,
because then you can't go if you're greeting them and they're coming in and they need something or they need to use the restroom. You're not going to go and take 5 or 10 minutes.
Excuse me while I go do my makeup.
Right.
But I always feel better if I at least have, feel a little bit prepared that way. So I thought that was a really good little tip. And yeah.
That's a great tip. What is your best advice for showing warm hospitality when people do walk in the door?
Well, I don't know. I'm so casual. Mm-hmm. It's like, have a seat. You want something to drink? I'm not a fussy, formal person. Mm-hmm. So when Annie was in college, and this was back in 1996, she was at NSA. So she started getting the friend groups together, and they were at her house all the time. All the time. I fed kids all the time, like many nights a week. I was a lot younger then. But the funny thing was that we had no money. So I don't know what I fed them. I asked these kids when they come back, like, what did I feed you? Because I know we didn't have any money. And they'd say, barbecued chicken, or we'd have chili, of course, and cinnamon rolls probably.
Pinto beans.
And probably pinto beans and, hot dogs and stuff. But they came and they'd hang out and hang out and hang out. And it wasn't about the food. It was just a place that they could come and have a time with their friends. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Mark and I both loved having the kids over. And they would leave school and he would say to them, now, please come back when you have your children and bring your kids back to us. And so we can get to know your kids. And so this is all happening now,
so special.
Can I mention names?
I think so.
So Holly McCabe.
Mm-hmm. She's been on here before.
Yes. So Holly was at our house all the time. She and her sister Heidi. Uh-huh. And so they were my girls. And there were a couple other ones. And they were just over. They came over like a couple times a week, I think, to eat. And we saw them through their courtships, and Mark shot their weddings. And we loved them like our own. And now they're back here in town. And it's just a blessing because she's a dear, sweet friend, plus like one of my girls, Mm-hmm. So all those times having the kids over, and I don't remember ever stressing out about having them. Like whatever I had, help yourself.
Be there.
Yeah. And kids would come up and say to me, I remember coming to your house and you had dinner for us. It was so nice. I don't remember I can't remember the person, let alone having them dinner. And it was so sweet. And so I know the Lord just kind of led us that way. And at that time in our life, I don't really have the energy for all that activity now. But it was a great blessing. And, I never regret the time that we spent with all those kids. And it was several years of having kids over. So.
And you were working full time.
Well, half-time.
Half-time.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, how are you working full time? And you have enough energy still, but especially back then, I know you had a ton of energy, but that is still tough if you work all day.
Yeah.
You're just tired.
You're tired.
And I still have some energy to cook a good meal.
Yes. And I help my husband with his business. So he's got the photo business. So I do all the bookkeeping and do the taxes and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you are busy. Have you been doing that all these years?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And help him with orders if he has orders to do. And yeah. So,
Yep, so you're secretary in more than one place.
yeah, I got a couple jobs.
Got a couple of jobs.
I like being busy.
Yes. And now you have 5 grandchildren here,
Yes.
which is very fun.
One is engaged,
And
which
one
is super
just-
fun.
Yes,
Super
it's the
fun.
first in the
Yes,
family.
yes, it's so
and
fun.
A wedding to plan. Are you a part of that too?
Well, I hope so. I hope I can be part of it. Anything is wonderful. So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very fun. What is your must-have kitchen item and where can we find it?
Well, for the two of us, I love our George Foreman grill. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
It's
That
awesome.
was the thing back in the day.
I know.
When it first
I've
came out,
gone
it
through
was the
several.
hot item to buy.
I know.
I got them for Christmas and
Yeah.
birthdays. Everybody had a George Foreman grill because, well, there was a lot of ways that you could have a healthier diet if you used it,
Well, it's supposed to drain the
grilling
fat off,
inside.
whatever.
Yes, but it brought a grill inside instead of having to be outside all the time.
It's great. It's great. I mean, you can do a piece of salmon on that for like 4 minutes, a little salmon fillet. So it's just the two of us. It's great. 2 salmon fillets on the George Foreman and, boom, you're done.
And they still sell them.
Oh, yeah.
You've
And they're not very
replaced it
expensive.
recently?
They're
Okay.
maybe like $40, I think. I don't know. But I really, really, really like that one is like a must have. And the other thing, okay, now I'm feeling like the Instant Pot I'm liking that a lot. And then the other thing I really love is I like to make homemade baguette bread. And I've got a great recipe that actually belongs to Hannah Greaser, but it's a baguette pan that you can get it on Amazon, and it's like two. It's like
Two
you can't
molds?
see me on this.
She's showing us.
I'm showing you the mold. It's like 2 molds for long baguette bread, and it's got
never seen a
holes in it.
Okay. So
So-
that the air circulates.
And then you put a pan of water on the bottom rack and put the baguette, the 2 loaves of baguette in the pan above it, and then it steams it's the easiest recipe ever.
And they turn out delicious.
And it's fabulous. And you can get it done in like hour and a half, maybe. Like homemade baguette bread, which is great to take to people's house if they want you to bring bread.
That would go on the side of just about any meal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
would go with your chili, or it could go with a soup.
It's not
or-
a hard crust. It's a softer crust, but they're very good. It's a very good recipe and be super, super easy.
That
If you
sounds
have the
amazing.
other thing is a KitchenAid.
Yes. Are you talking about the stand mixer?
Yeah. Love
What
my
size
KitchenAid.
do you have?
I just have a standard. I don't have like a big industrial one, but
Well, for
just-
2 people, and I know you cook for more people sometimes, but you really don't want a giant one on your counter most of the time.
no, I don't have
You're not
room,
gonna
number
need it.
one, but I do make my bread in it. So I do all my bread kneading in it and stuff. So yeah,
It's pretty special to have homemade bread when you go to someone's house.
I know. I like it. And then I've done taste tests with the local gourmet sort of bread. I think my bread's better. I have a really good recipe. And I don't know. I just think there's something about it that's better.
Is the pan pretty necessary? I mean, it kind of sounds like it with the
Well, yeah,
holes
because you
and
can
the
get
water
the
and
steam in it. The steam can come up under the and
Is that
makes
how baguettes are always made, or do
Well,
some
there's-
people just roll them out and put them on a baking sheet?
I don't know
I've
that
ever
I
made a baguette.
there's
before.
some sort of a steaming thing
Okay.
in the oven, if it's a pan or if it's a steam oven or something like that.
Okay.
My one granddaughter works out at a little cafe at the mall, and she makes the baguettes.
And they
And
use this similar pan.
But hers are harder. Her crusts are harder, so I don't really know about that.
I probably would prefer your softer crust.
Yeah,
Some
it's
of them
good.
get really hard on the outside.
Yes, they do, and they're hard to
chew.
eat. But this pan is like $19 on Amazon.
Okay.
So
I'll have to get a link from you to know which one we're looking at, or make sure
Yeah.
I have the right one.
it's great, and the recipe is just super easy, and you'll never go back.
You'll always make that one
Yes.
over and over and over.
Yes.
Okay, well, I will post a link on your blog post, but also on the shop page under whatever category it fits under. I'll have to look and see. I can't remember all my categories, but you'll find a bread pan there. So look on comeoverfordinner.com. Do you have a story for us from all your years, or stories? If you have plural, multiple stories, you just go for it from all your years of having people over.
Well, I mean, the story of the pinto beans, that was kind of my story,
good.
I think, that I was thinking of.
So you called your husband to come home, but what happened when the guests walked in?
Well, he had it cleaned up. It took him all afternoon.
Oh, because you were cooking it pretty early.
Yeah.
Because the pressure cooker.
Because I was planning, to get for the party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What did you do instead? Y'all race and go grab some canned beans, or
I don't know what I did.
Over? Who knows?
I don't know what I did, but it was just like I was so frazzled. One time I had someone over for dinner, also pregnant. Why am I doing these things when I'm pregnant?
I think probably those are just the times you remember the most.
Maybe so. And I think that your mind goes into another world when you're expecting, and everything is kind of really discombobulated or something. But I remember I cooked like a full turkey dinner, and it wasn't even, mashed potatoes and the whole thing. And it was just for this little family. No. And and finally the wife had to come out and kind of help me because I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't are the potatoes done? Do I need to mash them now? And I don't know what's happening. It was like I just couldn't even function. I don't know why I was doing that. But
it's a pretty good story.
Yeah, that's good. So I don't know. Thinking about having all those kids over all the time was just, such a blessing.
Yeah.
Really,
you were
really
just
fun.
willing to open your home and have them come into whatever your normal life was.
Whatever it was.
Whatever you were feeding your own kids anyway.
Yeah.
Which probably made them feel like their own home. It wasn't like you were trying to put on a big fancy, the time with the turkey and potatoes maybe.
Yeah, right. That was really bad. That was a terrible, terrible disaster one more time. But
maybe with the kids you felt a little more relaxed and, they'll be, they'll eat whatever my kids are eating, and then they felt like family.
Yeah. Well, after my daughter moved to Texas, I was kind of missing the kids. They'd come over, but she was they were friends with her and friends with us, but really they were her friends. But then I thought, well, I'm going to do a soup night on Fridays and, invite some single guys and whatever over. I don't know, just different singles. And I had kind of a core group of people, and that was really fun. And then pretty soon I think they'd start bringing their girlfriends. Then they'd go in and do the dishes together. So many couples that were courting did dishes in my kitchen. It was so cute. Are you doing the dishes yet?
If you had a question, I wonder, he sure is talking to her a lot, you would know if they ended up in the kitchen doing dishes together.
Well, that's exactly right. And so when we had
the test,
when my granddaughter brought her fiance over, go do the dishes in the kitchen, just like old times. It's so funny. And then one of my friends said, "Are they doing the dishes?" So we had this little funny joke about who's doing the dishes, and I could name names.
It's so true. It still happens. It's so true.
It's so cute. It was the cutest thing ever.
Yes.
So
the time that I knew, which I know I was not the first person to know, friends knew, but the time that I knew that Gemma, Becca Merkel's oldest daughter, and the guy she's now married to, kind of liked each other.
Were they doing the dishes?
At one of the events that I helped with, she was on dish duty, but every time I turned around, he was there. And he
on
never
dish duty,
left
you see?
Dish duty.
So if anybody out there has couples over, they'll do the dishes gladly so they can spend time together, you see.
And they think they're fooling everybody because they're just working so hard.
They're really helping. Snapping the towel at each other and stuff.
And talking nonstop.
I know, it's so cute. Yeah. So I remember when you and Ruth were here, did you ever come over to our house? You might have. I don't know.
Probably did, but now I'm an old lady.
And you can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, yeah. Because you came the year after Becca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, the second class.
So fun.
For a short time.
So fun.
Yes. Fun memories. Yes. I knew Chris way back in the day. New St. Andrews had just started.
It was 1990.
Did it start in 94? And then in 95.
And then you were 95,
class.
and then Annie's class was 96. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So my husband flew up and proposed. So I can't say I'm an NSA alumni.
But did he do the dishes with you?
Well, he probably did at some point. It's very likely that he did. And everybody was whispering and knew.
Yes, what are they doing in there?
Yeah.
That's so cute.
He really likes her. And then, but the reason he actually flew up is to propose. So I think by then the cat was out of the bag.
He was going after you.
Yeah. He flew, and it was funny. We lived across the street from the Wilsons.
I know.
Ruth, Holly,
on Hawthorne.
On Hawthorne. And was it Hawthorne?
Wasn't it No, was it Hawthorne?
Harrison.
That's right.
Harrison.
Started with an H.
There is a Hawthorne
You're
Street.
a Hawthorne.
Yes. But we lived
on
across
Harrison.
the street. Ruth, Holly, and I were roommates. And when he flew up, I never imagined in my entire life that he would fly, because I think that was his first flight. I really do. His family, he grew up in the country, and that when they traveled, like he went to some sort of baseball, whatever they call it. What is the finals with baseball? I don't know. Anyway,
the playoffs,
the World Series.
Oh, yeah,
some kind of World Series when he was a boy, maybe at least once, maybe twice. But his family always drove. They just drove, and he'd never flown. And so I could never imagine in my life. And we were on the phone, this, again, landline. There were no cell phones.
No, you got the landline with the long cord. And you're walking all over the house with the long cord.
And it did not come with an extra long cord. So if you wanted the extra long cord so you could walk and potentially open a door or go do dishes in the kitchen, well, you had to buy the extra long cord. I don't think we had the extra long cord. And so I'm on the phone with him, and it was the beginning of our spring break, and he was telling me about what he was doing in Arkansas, and there's a knock on the door, and I holler for Ruth and Holly, there's somebody at the door. No answer. They had just disappeared. But Brian had also put me on hold. He's like, hang on.
He was at the door.
So I go to open the door. I'm like, I don't know what to do, because if he comes back, I'm not here. But, I just slammed the phone down and I ran to the door. I was going to try to do it really fast. And I pull open the curtain, and it was a sliding glass door. And there he was. And it was just the weirdest experience, one of the weirdest experiences of my life, because in my mind.
Was he on a knee?
Not yet. In my mind, he was in Arkansas. Yeah. But he's standing right there. And so I think I just froze. But then behind him are all the friends, all the college friends. And I think Rachel told me later she had been hiding in the bushes with the camera nearby, I guess, to get the right shot. And Holly McBroom, well, now McCabe, she had this video camera, which your husband probably used too back in the day.
Gigantic thing that you put on your shoulder.
Yes. It was a massive box that you had to go and rent.
Yeah.
I guess if you were rich enough or whatever could afford it, maybe your family had one. But the college girls, Ruth and Holly, went down and you could rent a video camera. And so she had this thing hoisted up on her shoulder taking a video. Long story short, he proposed.
And you said yes.
And I said
here
yes,
you are.
And here I am. And I didn't finish. And I flew back. Well, not exactly then, but at the end of the year. So that was the story.
That's so fun.
Nancy Wilson, she cracks me up because apparently Brian had been at their house across the street before he came over.
In the big White House across the street.
Across the street. And the phone he was calling from was theirs. He called from their phone, but he didn't hang up. He said, hold on. First, before the knock came at my door, he ran across the street, knocked, but he never had hung up the phone because that would give it away. So Nancy's listening in the whole time. Hearing me scream, probably.
Everybody was in on it except you.
Everyone was in on it except for me.
Oh,
that's so fun. Finally wore off, and we had a great time. But yeah, that was the story of Brian's first trip to Idaho and me not finishing college here in Idaho. So anyway, fun
that's
times.
really
But
fun.
I think what I was going to say is, yes, it was a lot smaller community and church at the time. And of course, the college was tiny. And one of the families here that was very welcoming and hospitable were the LaMoreaux. We loved the LaMoreaux. Chris has always been just this cheerful, happy, joyful person to see at church every Sunday.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yes. And, I think that's so important when college kids are away from their families to have people like that who really just take an interest in them like you did for Annie's friends and invite them to their homes or maybe just give them a big hug at church or ask how they're doing.
Well, there is a real culture. I mean, there's a real difference age-wise. And you have to make an effort. And it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. The kids have to not be standoffish either. But, if you make an effort, you find that it's just a really sweet, you can have a sweet friendship with them.
Yes.
It's really fun.
Yep. So fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
stories with me
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Until next time, bye for now.